Yeah, for me, my parents they introduced me to every sport. I used to do summer camps, and I would do every single sport: swimming, baseball, soccer, football, basketball, and really the one that just stuck with me the most was basketball. I would, right when I come home from school, I would go drop my bag inside the house
Yeah.
and grab the basketball, start playing outside, and then during my birthdays, Christmas, the only two things I would ask for was either new basketball shoes or a new basketball. And then if I got the new basketball, I would sleep with the basketball. So really, basketball was my first love, and I never asked for anything except for basketball shoes or a new basketball to play with. So really, there was nothing else for that.
But then what made you choose basketball? Was there like a reason, even at a young age, that you really loved it? Because other sports are fun as well. I mean, I have other friends that really enjoy other sports. I mean, of course, basketball is also my number one sport, even if I don't play it anymore as much as before when I was varsity. But then now I watch it. I watch like all these podcasts and shows also that are basketball related, all the NBA, PBA, UAAP. So I could relate to you for sure. But like, what are the reasons you chose basketball?
I really don't really have a reason. It's just that's just how it went. Like I was growing up, I just really loved playing basketball. Like in front of the house, me and my brother would play until it was nighttime, and then our parents would get home and ask us if we did our homework. But you know, we just been playing the whole day since we got home, and I don't know, it just really stuck with me that I really loved playing basketball since I was young.
How old were you at the time? Around what, 7 maybe or younger?
I started playing basketball when I was like 5 years old.
Oh, okay, that's even younger. Because I played like yeah, around 6, maybe like 6 or 7, like legit one, like not like the ones that home only, like shooting at a small hoop. I would play like in a clinic, basketball clinic around like 6 or 7. That's why it's pretty young also. But then for you, since you tried a lot of sports, like your parents made you try a lot of sports, what could you say is the advantage of also trying out a lot of these sports? And maybe you could apply also, pretend you chose one sport already, but then you tried out the others. What could you apply from those others that you could apply to that one sport you chose?
Yeah, I think it's really big introducing for you know introducing yourself to every sport, because I remember I used to have like knee pains, and then I my parents had me join the swim team, and I don't know, somehow the swim team like strengthened my legs and
Yeah.
my knees never hurt anymore. And then I played football in eighth grade and in my first year of high school, and that kind of built my body into a more physical person, because I used to be a little softer. But when I
Mhm.
started playing football, I became more physical, and that kind of helped me in basketball too. So I think you can take a little bit from every sport and use it to help the sport you really concentrate on.
Yeah, that's really great. And I think they could also teach a lot of lessons. Like I think sports is a great way to teach some, values or virtues that you want to teach your children. And I want to ask your take also on that because for me, like maybe that's why my parents made me try basketball also. It's just that I liked it already. So I didn't really try other sports anymore, like some other children. But then for you, what are your thoughts on the parents making children try sports? Because yeah, like the values of hard work, discipline, and fortitude, grit, all these other virtues that you want to teach your children, like you can't just tell them by talking to them. They'll be like, what do you mean? Like you need to do it, like have an example. But then in sports, it's the best teacher also in terms of the virtues. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I 100% agree with it, because I have so many instances in where, like, I remember I was playing football in eighth grade, and I was so tired practicing every day, and football, you just hitting each other with pads and helmets, and my body was so bruised up and sore, and I was like, I asked my parents one time, like, can I just skip practice today? Can you just tell them I'm sick? But they told me I have to finish what I started, and I joined the team. I wanted to play this, and so they still made me go to that practice. And it's just a life lesson going through, like, there's times where you don't want to work, you don't want to do these things, but sometimes you just really have to do it. and then it all paid off, made me a better person, a better player. And there's lots of instances like that. Like, I remember in middle school, I got cut from the basketball team. Then the next year, lost 20 pounds. I made the team, and then every year I started improving like that. And so there's lots of things that you can take away from sports. It's not just the actual sport. It's like the life lessons in that too.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I appreciate podcasting. Like, and also because in TV shows sometimes it's more like constructed. Like you need to follow what the producer wants or the topic that's viral now or what's controversial or what you'll talk about. But in podcasts, like you learn more about also the stories of the athletes and when they are able to share like what you shared here in my podcast. And not everyone is able to have the opportunity to also share those experiences wherein they learned these lessons at such a young age. So it's great for an inspiration also for people that will listen. Because yeah, what you were like in middle school, that was pretty young, but then it was already
Yeah.
imparted in you to I know have that life lesson at now, even at a older, even when you're older, you still be able to apply what you learned in middle school. And maybe if you weren't in sports, you never know if you would have learned that at a young age.
Mhm. Exactly. I
Yeah.
don't. Without those sports, I wouldn't have been the same person.
Yeah, for sure. But then, yeah, since you mentioned that you chose basketball, despite all these lessons you learned in football and all the pain and grueling practices you had, but then what was the breakthrough moment that you knew you could take it seriously? And yeah, you played college ball before going here to the Philippines, and you also played high school in the West Coast. And when did you know that you could really have a mark and play professionally eventually?
Um, like even when I was 5 years old, my dream was always to play on the Lakers. Everybody's dream is to play in the NBA.
Yeah.
But I think when it finally became serious to me was in middle school, maybe around seventh, eighth grade. I used to just play one time a year, one season a year, because they just have one league in my hometown. You just play there one time a year, and then wait for next year and next year. Until seventh grade, I got invited to a travel team, and then from that team, I was playing year round games year round, and I started playing against these big name guys that you would see on the internet, and it just kind of inspired me. Like, I want to be like them. And then from there, I just took it year by year, and then I was just thinking how I could improve. Then finally, when it came to high school, that's when I was already thinking about how I could improve myself to the point where I'll play college. Then in college, I would try to think of how I would improve myself so I could become a pro. And so I just took it one step at a time. I didn't really look too far ahead.
Yeah, and your stint in the US, you played nga in Cal State Fullerton for 2 years, I think, and then you went to Cal State Pomona for 1 year, and it was kind of tough for you because I think you didn't get that much minutes compared to like what you get here in the Philippines with Gilas. I think you haven't played in Ateneo, but then you'll get a lot of minutes there as well. So what was the great learning experiences that you could share here on the podcast? Maybe because yeah, you didn't get a lot of minutes or the opportunities that you really wanted. Because I know that we all know that you have the talent and the skills to really excel at the collegiate level, even in the United States. But then sometimes it's really the fit and the system and the opportunity also that will really propel you to be successful. So unfortunately, I didn't get that many minutes in those colleges. But how was it for you? What did you learn a lot from it?
Yeah, I learned mostly stuff about myself, like working hard, even when things aren't really going my way. There's things that I couldn't control at the schools, like coaches' decisions.
Yeah, those ones.
Um, just those playing time, those things are not really too much in my control. It's just if I go in, I try and do my best. If I don't, you know, I'll use the time to get better. I remember games where I wouldn't play. We'd end at 10:30. I would get in my car and drive to the gym and start working out. Um, just there's those things like that. I didn't let it bother me too much. I wasn't playing, but inside in myself I knew like I could be playing, and I need to get better. Even if I'm not playing, I'll find a way to get better. So that's really how I took my experience there in the States. I tried to learn from the players, from what the coaches were saying, but I wasn't like negative or sour towards anybody
Yeah.
there, or
Yeah.
just because I wasn't playing. I just found other ways to get better.
Yeah, that's a great optimistic view that others should really have. Like, especially now in the pandemic, a lot of people are sad and they feel like their dreams are cut short because it's like
Hmm.
almost what 2 years already, 1.5 years. So your dreams, you don't have the opportunity to try to achieve it because there's no face to face interaction with other people, because it's kind of tough to still try to achieve some things you want in life in a virtual setup. But then yeah, to have an optimistic view and still seeing the opportunity to still grow and evolve, like how you had, is a great mindset to have. But then I'm interested if there was one like day or one story that you were really down and you overcame that feeling or those emotions and still continued to play. Was there a story that you could share in those down times that you had, and how would you inspire others to continue still pursuing their dreams?
Yeah, definitely. Those experiences came for me in the States. At my colleges, there was so many times where I felt like, I should be playing, and
Mm-hmm.
I was upset, but I would go home, talk to my parents, and they would always tell me, take the best out of the situation, just learn from what the coaches are telling me, um, and then learn from what the players that are playing, learn from them. So it was mostly a learning experience for me. And I remembered so many times where I wouldn't play in the game, and then either the same night or early the next morning I was in the gym working out already, trying to catch up. So I just felt like since I wasn't playing it, I really had to try extra hard to catch up to everyone. And I didn't really let it keep me down. I wasn't playing. I wasn't just like, oh, I'm a bench player. I'm not going to let it sink into my head that I'm just going to stay 4 years, sit on the bench, and they'll be fine with me. I wasn't happy with that. I wasn't content, and so I really worked hard to get to where I was, and I think that's something that everyone don't let things keep you down. There's always a way to rise back up, and I think that's just how I did it. Me being here with this new opportunity, I sort of, I worked hard to be here, even if my opportunities in the States weren't, the flashiest. I was still working. I was still working hard to get here.